Hey guys, welcome to Uniquely Called, a podcast where we share real, authentic, unfiltered stories about those who dared to step away from status quo and really step into their God-given purpose. Today we got a powerful story. I'm here with Ash, someone who's done exactly that. All right, so Ash, please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, what you do.
For sure. My name's Ash. Been living out in Thailand for the last 7 years, since I was about 22. What I'm doing right now is I'm working with a group of guys to sell business class flights for a discount, 30% cheaper than it is online, helping people to actually explore the world at a cheaper rate. Yeah, so it sort of links into where we're going with travelling and overcoming some boundaries.
That's nice. So you said you've been here for 7 years. So what made you decide to leave? Right, where are you from originally?
UK.
And what made you decide to leave the UK?
The UK itself right now is going through a bit of a transitional period where people's freedoms and freedom of speech are being tested, and I just wanted to live somewhere where I got on well with the people of, just looking in the elevator and saying what up to someone is just a rare occasion in the UK. And within Thailand, the people and their peace of minds and mindsets have just been a lot more welcoming than the UK currently.
Yes. So what was the exact moment then? So I know you said it's a lot of things going on there. There's a transitioning period. And again, this is 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. So what was the exact moment that you was like, yo, I got to get out of here. I need to leave. What happened? Did something happen? Mm-hmm. Was it a thought that you had? What was going on?
Yeah, it was a calamity of things. Early onset to the idea that we're getting tested with freedoms, but mostly within myself. I looked around my social groups, I looked around my relationships, and thought maybe a move away would have either tested those skills and characteristics that I wanted to improve on, and basically ultimately just learn to live somewhere without the dependency of others.
All right, so during this transition period, you're in the UK, you're saying my circle is not where I want to be. I want to be around different people, I want to be around different environment. What was the challenges you faced? So was it any emotional or mental challenges you faced when you first decided to leave, the transition from the UK over to Thailand?
For sure, leaving your main caregivers, family, friends, what you know behind to come and do something that you don't know, a language you don't know, food you're not accustomed to eating, to places that you've not seen before. It was an emotional roller coaster to say, but one that just was forever uplifting and beneficial for my outlook on life. Sure.
What was some of the emotional barriers? Share with the people, what were the things that you was going through? What was the thoughts that you had during this transition period? So, were you anxious? Was there people in your family that was like, yo, you're crazy for doing this? What challenges did you face? Mm-hmm. And then how did you navigate that and still go forward with moving out of the country?
Cool. So again, it met with questions of care, basically. People worrying about my well-being. You've got it here. What's wrong with this place, the UK, and such? And everything seems to be okay for you in terms of you have your job, you have a good social life, and you have somewhere to stay. So, people were questioning what was going on with myself and my own thoughts. So it was a difficult pill to swallow, to reveal to them that it was maybe a different people I wanted to associate with rather, and family. Obviously it was emotional to be letting your family know that there's an amount of time you're not going to be in the country. I've never done that before. Yeah. So listening to their opinions, I could hear that it was deeply upsetting, but what kept me going is similar to faith, to have the idea of belief that things are meant to test us, and it's not meant to be a smooth road and such, and these experiences are going to better us and hopefully test our resolve. So trying to explain that to everyone was difficult, but family understood. Okay, you want to go try something new, become less dependent maybe, and ultimately spend some time in a place that I don't speak their language and adapt to survive.
Nice, yeah. So I think I went through something similar like this. Definitely when I first decided to leave the U.S., moved to China. For me, I remember like a lot of people in my family and friends, they just didn't understand it. And I think that's what it is sometimes. Sometimes you have, this calling, you have this deep pull or desire to do something different, and other people not used to it, and they don't have that same calling. And sometimes it's hard to like trust that calling and go with it. But you like, you know, like I said, stepped out on faith and went after that calling, right? And I was leaving the U.S. Like a lot of people's like, you're crazy. Like you're going to a place where you don't know the language, you don't know anybody. Like why would you leave this place? Right? And I just think it's important sometimes that like understand that like God gives you. Sometimes He placed something inside of you, and it's only for you. So like, what advice would you give somebody who is thinking about? They may be thinking about leaving, or they have the pull to do something different, but everybody else, they don't understand. They don't feel understood. What would you say to them?
Trust that intuition and that spark that's guiding you. Again, I think noting things down always helps me as well, like a pros versus cons thing, and especially huge decisions like this, where you might have to explain to other people what you're thinking about and how your thought process is. But all in all, that kind of individuality of that journey is between you and either your faith or your belief in yourself. So try and listen, open to hearing things, but ultimately focus on the reasons that you want to do it, and go back to them.
Okay, nice. Appreciate that. So during your journey, what would you say that you learned about yourself the most? What's something that you learned during these 7 years about yourself that you didn't know before?
For sure, I think adaptability to different situations. As you know, teaching in Asia is a lot different to teaching in the UK. So culturally and occasions where you need to adapt to the rules and regulations of that country and whatever their beliefs are. So I think being adaptable and flexible with that is pretty important. Although keeping strong and following what you believe and also trying to implement that is important. But knowing that, you know, it's their country and that's how things are done here is almost a bit of a skill to be able to sit back and sit on that thought and digest it.
Yes. All right. I just really want to go back a little bit. So when you first leave the UK, what did you do? What was you doing? Where were you working? What was you doing?
So I left the UK and moved.
Let's go back. Let's take the people back. So 7 years ago, you're living in the UK.
Correct.
Okay. What type of work you doing? What are you doing? And then you leave and you go to where? Thailand first.
Yeah, Thailand first.
So and then what did you do when you got to Thailand?
So I actually pre-organised my job before leaving the UK. I was working in schools in the UK, so that transition into Thai schools was quite smooth because I applied online. So I already had the job before I walked into the country. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about prior to the move, where I'm going to live. It turned out that I decided to move into the jungle area of Thailand, Pisanulok, which is a really rural area. And yeah, teaching position was the first thing that I did. I was on a salary of 20,000 baht with free accommodation, but it was that humbling experience of being completely away from everything I knew, like the cities and whatnot, and the familiarities of England, and moving into an area where there wasn't many foreigners and native speaking and English speaking. So yeah, it was interesting.
So when you did that, you came over here, and since you was in a rural area, I know there was like a language barrier. So was it there that you learned how to speak Thai and really had to like tap into learn the different language?
For sure. I think nobody else spoke the language. You could either decide to speak English on your own, or you could adapt to where you were, and that's what I did. And it was a great experience and eye-opening one for me to as an Englishman, to learn another language. So pretty impressive.
Yes. And what was the biggest challenge during this transition?
I suppose the tonal language from the English language to using tones to convey what you're saying is a huge change. Obviously the awkwardness of not wanting to say something incorrectly. For example, suai means beautiful, but suai means unlucky. So you could call somebody unlucky, or you could call them beautiful.
Languages are so interesting, similar to Chinese and China. Like different. If you're not in the right tone, you're saying a completely different thing.
Sure.
Yeah. On this podcast, uniquely called, we definitely like to talk a lot about how faith has played a part in the journey. So definitely want to ask you, like during this journey, has your faith has ever been tested?
For sure. Testing yourself to trust in God, to acknowledge that the plan is going to be in His hands, and that faith of, for example, taking the plane, even just that leap of faith mentality to know that it's all going to be overseen by Him, and that constant reliance relying on that principle that everything's going to be, continue to pay for protection as well when you are going on these long distance travels. So tested in Thailand, different religious groups live here. It's a very open and diverse place, which often can lead to different social activities going on around you and maybe feeling uncomfortable with certain things that are going on. So I've been tested to my resolve to be like, okay, this is for me, this isn't for me, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to be doing. So Thailand is very well known for partying and quite a good young youthful social group. And throughout my years here, it's up to you to decide what you do and don't do.
Yes. No, actually, I think that's a very valid point. So even, all of Southeast Asia, I think a lot of us are traveling and then we're searching for like healing, right? And in the midst of that, it's easy to like waver into something else. So whatever religion it may be, but it's easy to like step into those different practices. So I think it is important to like stay grounded in what you believe in, right? But at the same time, you can be open and be respectful, because again, like you said, in Thailand, there's a lot of like diversity here when it comes to religious practices and different beliefs and things like that. Yeah. So, but during that challenge, like, was it a moment where like your faith, like, where you kind of like questioned anything in your faith, or a challenge to you when you was like, wait a minute, like, is this really it? Did you, like, to the point where you wanted to like almost like give up in it or anything like that?
Not to the extent of giving up, but considering opening my eyes to other religions. I was a Buddhist lad who converted to Islam. Now, it was just listening to some of his teachings and what he gauged on his journey was interesting, but I wouldn't say anything ever strayed me from the path that I was on. It was more just okay, this is what else is going on. And
so let me ask you this question then. During the journey, is it ever a moment when you knew for sure that God was working in your life?
I mean, waking up and being around this kind of nature and deciding that everything was telling you not to be here, but that one reason was. So I think that's a blessing every day to be able to see this and wake up and be in this environment. So I feel like that's strong daily. It hasn't been significant. There's been significant moments, but sometimes it's just opening up and looking around and being like, wow.
Yes, man. Thailand is a beautiful place, man. I really enjoy just the ability to just come outside and walk and then do things like this. Like how amazing is it that we can come out here and we can just shoot, a podcast, taking a walk in nature, enjoying a nice breeze, the green, the water, fresh coconuts. Really can't beat that. All right. So, what would you say to someone who they're at the beginning of their journey or on their journey, and they're really might be struggling with trusting God's plan or God's direction?
Again, I think I'd reiterate the fact that you're putting your faith in something other than your own conscious decisions, and having that safety net of asking for protection, asking for guidance on your journey, but ultimately knowing it is up to Him. I suppose that's kind of difficult for me to understand, only because I've put my faith within God to make these decisions, to support me on these decisions. So for people that are struggling with that whole transition, I'd like to know what you think actually.
Okay. I like how you switched it back. So I think for me, two things. The first thing for me is always understanding this, is that faith and fear, they both require you to believe in something that you can't see. All right. So whether you can either choose to let fear rule your life or faith rule your life. And I think that's what it comes down to. So it comes down to really making that decision to step out in faith. So if somebody was struggling with like trusting God's plan, I would just tell them like, be patient and understand that like everything is working for you. Everything is happening for you, and it's not happening to you. And it's sometimes like it's the things that we can't see that are the most powerful on both ends of the spectrum. So whether that's these fears that we might have about things that never happen, right? Or it's these beliefs that something greater can happen too. So whatever you choose to focus on, whatever you choose to put more energy in, whatever dominates your subconscious mind, that's what's going to play out in reality. But just understanding that like God, like He got the best intentions for you, but you got to do your part and meet Him there. So Ash, there's a lot of people who they got the want, they got the desire to travel the world. But if we're being honest, like there are like real barriers to traveling beyond the fear of just getting on the airplane beyond the fear of going to a completely new place and not knowing anybody. But honest truth, one of the real things, and I think that a lot of people try to miss out on, is that actually it does cost to travel, right? And I think for a lot of people, as soon as they look up a flight and they see how much it costs, they see how long the flight is, they're like, oh, I'm not paying for that. Or they're like, oh, I don't want to sit in this type of seat for so long, uncomfortable on a plane. What am I going to eat on the plane? Like all of these things they struggling with. But actually, you actually help people travel the world luxurious for a cheaper price. Let's not call it cheaper price, for a discounted price. Yeah. So like tell the audience about that. Like, what do you do?
So in essence, I help people travel at a discounted rate, a lot cheaper than the Google price. Maybe you'll see Google flights 30% more expensive. However, I also help people to dissect their plans. So if you're looking for a long journey flight from the US to Asia, for example, I'm looking at how to break up these trips so you can maybe do it in a cost-effective way. To fly the whole journey out here might be 700 to 800 bucks, but you can fly to neighbouring cheaper countries, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, and try and break down said route before getting into Thailand or other Asian countries.
All right, and from talking with you, it's actually something very, very unique that Ash does. With him, you only fly business. So there is no economy with Ash. So like, could you please come on, tell the people about that. Everybody want to fly business class. Everybody want to be in Emirates. Everybody want to be laying down on the bed, right? So like, talk to us about that.
Okay.
How do you get that done? Like,
so someone like me, I've been traveling economy all my life until the last 2 years. Now, the only reason I'm getting into this is because the cost of flights are going so expensive in terms of economy anyway. So for the extra 500 bucks, you might as well get your legs out, enjoy a nice meal, be able to fall into a lie flat bed and take the sleep. So for the extra money, it's now worth it. It used to be a bit of a thing of an exclusive idea that traveling in business was only for the elite. However, now for the costs that are going on and the cost increases, you might as well try business class. And it's one of those things that once you try, you don't tend to go back. So yeah.
Yeah, that happened to me before, y'all. I'll tell you a quick story, man. I got addicted to business class before. So like, I flew business class the first time I flew it. Man, they treat me so much different in there. They know my whole name, saying my name, they writing me little nice notes when I pull up on the plane. Unlimited food, unlimited drinks, unlimited everything. And then as soon as I went back into economy, man, they wouldn't even give me a blanket in economy. So I do think that. And then I started like flying business class, but then I had like dialed back down because again, like it's actually expensive to do it. But what Ash is saying here is like, he's able to help you fly business class at a really, really good price. So if you're somebody and you at the beginning of your journey, or you're a world traveler, like Ash is a good contact to have. You can reach out to Ash. We'll give you his information here. I'll put it down in the caption, and he'll share how to find him, and then he can help you travel the world, different locations, and then he also can get you a really good price. And best of yet, you can lay down and visit. This part of the podcast, just going to some as fast as you can. Some of them might be a one word. Some you can go a little bit in depth if need to. All right. And first question is, one word, describe your journey so far. One word. Adventurous. Nice. Okay. One belief you had to break free from. Science.
Not free from it, or not public.
You gotta talk about shy. All right. And one thing about you that you still carry from your hometown. Confidence. Oh, like that. Okay, what's one country everybody should visit at least once in their lives?
It has to be Thailand.
It has to be Thailand.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the one mindset shift that completely changed your life? Okay, favorite food, eat in Thailand.
Come and die.
Come and die, chicken. All right. Okay, thank you guys. That's it for today. Again, so this is a powerful story. Thank you, Ash. Please share with the audience how they can find you, especially for people that's looking to travel. Where can they find you at? How can they contact you?
Sure.
And then share your social media if you want.
Yeah, let's go with social media. So social media, we'll attach it at some point, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. And check out the website, ionflyfirstclass.com. There's free quotations on there. It shows you how much you save from the online price. Huge discounts and huge blessings to be able to travel around the world with.
All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us here on Uniquely Called. if you feel, any connection to this story from Ash, if you want to follow his journey, please follow him. And please subscribe to the podcast, Uniquely Called. Follow on Instagram at Uniquely Called. And yeah, share this journey with people who are ready to step into their God-given purpose. Like right now, we literally just out here at the dam in Thailand. And it's really this simple. So if this is your vibe, hit the subscribe button.